Hey guys, it's Sam. Today we're going to be talking about planner peace and if it exists. And I know that this can be kind of a hot topic out there in the planner community, and so don't hate me because I have opinions on this. I did write notes down to try to keep myself from going off on a bunny trail, so I'll probably be referring to those to keep myself on the right track while we chat about this. So the concept of planner peace is something that I just see and hear a lot about in the planner community. And I have my own opinions about why I think that that's a problem. And I don't mean it in like a derogatory way, because I really do enjoy the planner community. But I think also that the planner community itself is the reason why we don't oftentimes feel like we have planner peace. It always seems to me that just at the moment you're feeling really happy in the place that you are in planning, and you feel settled and just you're like, yes, I think I'm here. As soon as you speak the words, I feel like this might be planner peace, something new comes out, a new trend begins, and you start rethinking everything. Or you feel like, what if I liked that more? So the whole fear of missing out. I've often joked with my husband. I mean, we've been married for 23 years now. We've been together since 1993. That's a really long time. And I'm like, I'm perfectly content, with you. Why can't I be content with a planner? And, if I'm honest with myself, I always was content with whatever planner I had until I found the planner community. And so I feel like it's a blessing and a curse. So I do believe that there is such a thing as planner peace. My tips for today are going to be about how I feel like you can achieve planner peace and kind of what comes along with that, and then what happens if you change systems in the future. So the first thing is, yes, I do believe that planner peace exists, and I felt that off and on before, and then I was like, ooh, maybe it doesn't. But I had to really take a gut check and think about why I wasn't feeling peaceful. And again, it was the whole fear of missing out. But I promise, planner peace exists. It's out there. I believe the definition of planner peace is when you find a planning system that meets the needs for what you need a planner to do. So it's really simple, I think. So the question then would be, if planner peace exists, then how do I get there? And I also don't think that that's very difficult. The problem is that there are so many options, like it used, and I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with having all of the options out there, but it used to be when you went to the grocery store, you had a couple of different ketchups and a couple of different mustards and a couple of different mayonnaise. And now you go into the aisle and you just look and you're like completely overwhelmed, and you're like, oh wow, like I just bought some mustard today and I was like, okay, so I want something different for brats. There's spicy mustard, there's stadium mustard, there's craft mustards. It would be easier to just choose a regular yellow mustard. Now, will I enjoy a craft mustard better? Maybe, but it would have been a much more simple decision as I'm standing there in the grocery store with my hair getting all funky because I'm in a mask. It would have been easier if I had less to choose from. But what I have done the last couple of times that I have made decisions for how and why I'm moving systems is to write a list. This is what I need in a planner and why. Since I knew I was going back to rings, I knew what sections I needed for sure. And then I looked back into my Hobonichi weeks that I had been using previously and really thought about why it wasn't functioning for me as well as I wanted it to. And then I turned back into the back and looked at the collections and sections that I had in the blank back pages. And I assessed what I was using, what I wasn't using, why I wasn't using it. A lot of it for the Hobonichi weeks came down to, I knew I wanted to have a collection in the back, but that also meant that I either needed to print something off, cut it down, and put it in the back of it, or draw it myself. And I knew that I didn't want to draw anything myself. That's just not my thing. So I sat down with some papers from my Filofax, and I just put, these are the sections that I want to have in my planner. So for you, it might be, you want to have a yearly overview, one of those big fold out yearly calendars, a section for your months, a section for your weeks. Maybe you also use daily in conjunction with weekly. Maybe you don't use weekly, you only use daily, and then certain sections in your planner that you need. I knew I was going into rings again, and I knew that that would work really well for me. And so I really just had to sit down and think, how do I make the most out of this planning system? And how do I make it work for me? So if you already know that you need a yearly overview, a monthly overview, and a weekly overview and a planner, and you know that you're not going to have a bunch of extras, you can already start to realize, okay, maybe I don't need a system that molds and changes with me. Maybe a spiral bound would be what's best for me. Maybe you would enjoy a planner that is very structured, like an Emily Lay or a simplified planner, where every day there's going to be a to-do list. Every day there's going to be a place for appointments. Every day that there's going to be a place for you to write like a little thought about your day. And so I think that most planners know about the various kinds of systems that are out there. It's really just about the basic needs that you have. So do you want something that is structured? Do you want something that can't be changed? Do you want something that can be changed? I know for me, sometimes I change my mind about what I want in my planner. My main sections have not really changed a lot, and that's why I think I know I have found planner peace, because I don't change things up in my planner so much anymore. So for me, my sections are month, week, YouTube section, a section where I track things, a section where I leave lists, and then I have this one, it's peeps. And although for the most part my planner isn't changing, I have recently with my new job discovered that, I'm not really using the address section very much at all. Those addresses are in my phone. I use it kind of as a backup fail-safe so that I don't have to scroll through messages to find an address, or just text my friend and say, hey, give me your address again for the 15th time. But with my work, there are 100,000 passwords that I now have to memorize to get into different systems. And I do have those stored in my phone in the Notes app. But we're also not supposed to have our phone out. And I can't rely on my memory to remember, some have an email address for my username, and some have just a generic username, and some have my employee ID. And it's sometimes my brain is kind of fried, especially if it's one that I don't use as frequently. So I already know that I'm going to be swapping out this peeps section, which was my addresses, and I'm going to put work-related information in this section. And I don't have to really worry about putting those passwords in there. I might put hints. Don't freak out. I'm not giving everybody my passwords. So going past just the general functionality, if you're the kind of person who really does want more of I want my day to have, a to-do list and my appointments, and I also want to have a journal snippet, and I want to draw something beautiful. If you're very artsy like that, then, maybe a made-for-you planning system isn't going to be what's right for you. Maybe you are much more suited to carrying a bullet journal or a traveler's notebook with various inserts in it so that it really is a work of art and very unique to you. For me, that stresses me out. I feel like I like beautiful things and I have a creative eye of sorts, but translating what I'm seeing or feeling onto paper, into drawings and things, that's not really my thing. So that really stresses me out. And so I need something that's going to be much more functional and not just blank paper staring at me. So for me, having said all of that, planner peace is really more about knowing what your needs are and incorporating those into any kind of system. So if you sit down and you make those lists and you say, these are the things that you need, then you're going to be able to more easily align a system with what your needs are for that system. And I feel like that's when you arrive at planner peace. When you know what your needs are, you find a system, or you make a system work for the needs that you have. That's planner peace. It doesn't mean that you're not going to see something in someone's social media feed and think, oh, wow, that's really nice. I think I'd like to try that. And that's completely okay if that's what you want to do, because the planning community isn't only about planning. I don't know if you've noticed that, but it's also a very, it's a creative outlet for so many. And it's like I was saying before, I'm not really the artist, but there are beautiful things that I like to incorporate even into my functional planner that they bring me joy and they make me happy, and it's a hobby and it's a creative outlet for many of us. So that being said, if you find a system that works for you and you do see something bright and shiny in someone's Instagram feed or YouTube video and you think, I think I'd really like to try that. That doesn't mean that you weren't in planner peace before. It means that you saw something that you might like to try and you decide that you're going to go for it, because there is something very rewarding about setting up a planner, printing your inserts, cutting and punching. Yes, it takes time, but it's a creation, it's something that you are making and creating, and you are putting your heart and soul into it, and it's calming and relaxing, and it makes us happy to do. And so I find a lot of fun in, even though I stay in rings, I like to order my new inserts for the year. I like to make my dividers. I like to find pretty papers and turn them into dashboards, and I make my own dividers. And so taking the time to do those things for my planner, I really enjoy. But some people don't enjoy that. They enjoy buying a new system and setting that up. I really just don't think that means that you didn't find planner peace. It just might mean that you wanted to change, and that's okay too. I don't think that you have to be as serious about it. For me, I've come to the point where I feel like I have really tried everything. Maybe not every single brand of every kind of planner, but I've tried every kind of planner that's out there. And I don't care if personal rings isn't what's the most popular thing at this point in time, because it's what's true and authentic to me. Using personal rings has always, since my whole introduction to the planner community, personal rings has been the thing that I have been in the most. So I've been the most consistent, I've been the most organized, and I've been the happiest in. And it's really because I can change the covers and collect the covers and, change the look of my planner, and the guts be pretty much the same. Changing out the dividers, again, a different look. I can use washi, I can use stickers, I can very inexpensively, especially with digital downloads, completely change the layout of what I want my planning guts to look like from week to week, month to month, year to year, even throw a daily in there. So for me, I find it a very flexible system. I know that not everybody likes rings, and some people get really annoyed just with the mechanism themselves. But for me, A5 is too big, pocket is too small, personal size is just right. I feel like I can write the things that I need to write, and it's not too big to throw in pretty much any bag. So I've come to the realization that for me personally, personal rings is where it's at. And so when I see somebody's beautiful system, I am now very much less inclined to think, oh wait, what if I'm not happy with what I am in now? What if it'd be better if I switched to a different system? And so that's the peace part for me, is being able to watch someone else's video or see someone else's Instagram feed, see something beautiful and lovely, and be happy for that person that they've found something that works so well for them, and then still come back to my personal rings and be like, this was her thing and this is my thing. So don't beat yourself up if you have decided it's time for a change, that doesn't mean you're in like some kind of planner free fall or panic mode. You're just finding your way. And maybe you'll get there to a place where you're like, yep, this is my ride or die. And maybe you'll be like, this is what works for my life for this year. There are a lot of people who are like that as well. You found a planner that works for you for this year or for 3 years. And then at the end of that whatever period of time, you're like, you know what, that worked really well for me, but my needs have changed. My life has changed. I need to move on now. And that's about knowing yourself, knowing what you need. And I don't think that you could ask for anything more as a planner. I also would like to say there's absolutely nothing wrong with going along with a fad. You might find your absolute perfect fit when you do that. I was using all kinds of, just generic planners that you would pick up at the grocery store and making my own when one day I found an ad for the new Filofax originals that were coming out. And that was, I think it was either 2013 or 2014. And so maybe that was a fad. I wasn't really into social media at that time as much to know for sure, but all I knew is that I really liked the look of those planners, and I was like, oh, I think that could work for me. And it did. So maybe following a fad is where you will find your planner piece. But also don't be afraid to go against that. Right now, like I said, personal rings is definitely not where everybody's flocking to. And so I might not get the most likes on my Instagram and I might not get the most views on a YouTube video, but for me, it's about being true to myself. That's what works for me, and I don't want to use something else just to gain popularity, get views, have followers, and things like that. That's just not my jam. So I hope that having this little chat about Planner Peace gave you some insight and gave you some things to think about to help you if you are currently struggling and feeling like you're not feeling Planner Peace, that yes, it's out there, and maybe gave you some ideas for how to find it. And if you're happily using a system and have found Planner Peace yourself, I'd like to hear your thoughts on how you got there, if it's different than what I have decided is the journey to Planner Peace. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments below, or if you'd just like to chat about your journey with your planners or your Planner Peace. I love hearing other people's planner stories. I've been saying it lately, and I'm going to say it again here. I will get back to you. I used to be really, really good about almost immediately commenting back. But again, I'm working in a job where I can't use my phone, and I'm working midnight shift, so I'm sleeping when most people are awake. So if I don't get back to you within a couple of hours or even a day or two, I promise I will get back to you eventually. I'm just not able to get there as fast as I used to. If you like this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. If you don't want to miss out on future videos, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks so much as always for watching, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye guys.